In this video, I'm going to go through how to use the cosine rule to find a length and how to use the cosine rule to find an angle. If you remember, when you label a triangle for cosine rule, the first thing you should always do is always label what you're looking for as A. Now, when I say A, it's a little a if it's a side you're looking for, or a capital A if it's an angle. Now, this is the same as if you were doing the sine rule. So you should end up with either you're looking for this little a or this big A, and then you have the other sides B and C. You could label this angle as big B and this angle as big C, but we don't need them to use the cosine rule. So there are two versions for the cosine rule. This one here is using a side, and this one here using an angle. Now, you will need to memorize this first one for using the side. There's no way of getting around that. You will need to memorize it. Now, the other one, you will either memorize or you can choose to know where it comes from. And I do know a lot of people just decide to memorize that one. So what I'm going to just show you now is if you chose not to, as long as you've got the top one memorized, how you could work out the bottom. So this is the cosine rule for a side. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, this term here, that at the moment is just a number. They're all multiplied together, so I can class that as one term. And what I'm going to do, because it's takeaway, I'm going to add it onto the other side. I'm now going to get rid of the a squared. The a squared is positive, so to get rid of that, it's a takeaway. Now, I just want the cos A on its own. Cos A is cos of an angle. I want that on its own. So I've got to get rid of where it says 2bc. This 2bc is being multiplied by the cos A, and the opposite of multiplication is division. And as you can see, I've ended up with the same result as I've got here. So in an exam, you do need to have this one memorized for your GCSE. And this one, you either need to memorize it or know how to prove it and get it correct this way. So let's just do a quick example of both. So first of all, to find a length. I'm looking for the length BC, which is this one here. So I'm going to label that little a. Now, I always cross out any angles then that they give me. I don't care about them. I label it myself. That's the one I'm looking for, little a. So this one is big A. We then have little b and little c. B and C can be the other way around. It doesn't matter. Now, because you should be trying to memorize this rule, I will write it down first, and writing it down just helps me remember it. I'm going to put all the numbers in the right place. So I've got 45 squared plus 60 squared minus 2 times 45 times 60 times cos 110. Now, it's important that you write that line down. That line is your workings. That line is a method mark. We now get the calculator. So I'm just making sure the screen is lit up. There we go. So I'm just going to type in the right-hand side, 45 squared, or let's get rid of that. 45 squared plus 60 squared minus 2 times 45 times 60 times cos 110. And that gives me this number here. I'm not going to write it all down. I'm just going to write it to there. In fact, now I'm going to keep that as an 8 because I use the dot, dot, dot. Say that is the full number. but I've kept it on my screen because I haven't finished, because this is what a squared equals. So to finish it off, I'm going to square root, and I'm going to hit the answer button, because that answer was the last one on my screen, and press equals. So this length here is 86.4 kilometers. Let's now do one for an angle. So start off, label what I'm looking for as A and A. Then I have B and C. I write down the rule I'm going to use. And writing this down again helps me memorize it. I'm going to put all the numbers where they should go in the equation. 14 squared plus 25 squared minus 36 squared all over 2 times 14 times 25. So again, get my trusted calculator, hit the fraction button first, and type in what we have. Now you could write the decimal down, or if it gives you as a fraction, you could go as a fraction. I typically write the fraction down because it means I don't have to do any rounding. Now, just like any time you're doing trig and you're trying to find an angle, you've got to get rid of the word cos. You've got to get rid of this function cos. The opposite of cos is the inverse of cos, which is cos to the minus 1. So whenever you're looking for an angle using trigonometry, you will always use an inverse trig function. So on my calculator, I still have that number on my screen. So I'm going to do shift cos to get my inverse function, hit the answer button, and I get the angle of 132.7 degrees. And that is how you use the cosine rule for a length and cosine rule for an angle.